One final example focuses on the importance of small steps that are continued for a long time. In the early years of space exploration, scientists made extensive studies and calculations regarding the forces that were needed to get the rocket into space, orbit around the Earth, and then return to Earth. This was expanded when the travel left the Earth, went to the moon, entered into orbit there, landed, got back up into orbit, came back to the Earth, and then safely landed. The calculations showed that a very small error in these distances at various points would have a very significant impact on the outcome. In fact, with the distances involved, a tiny error in leaving Earth orbit might lead to missing the moon by such a great distance that returning to Earth safely might not be possible. In a similar way, the tiny steps taken in the daily habits associated with the formation of virtues culminate into a life that has godly character. Failure to take the right steps would show why the vices lead to bad character. They are the accumulation of small steps that over time lead to great distances off from the target. Just as in-flight adjustments are necessary, so too the steps taken during character development need to be adjusted. Research in the social sciences on the nature of habits has revealed helpful information that may contribute to the efforts of the parents and their children. Now, it's commonly known that the habits take time to develop, generally needing about 3 weeks of daily use, but some need up to even 8 weeks. This is one of the reasons that the activities in this project are intended to be used for at least 2 months to give time for that to take place. In addition, the effectiveness of the routine that you're going through in habit formation is dependent on environmental conditions in which they're being completed. One key aspect is the ability of the individual to focus on the task. If there are too many distractions, which in some cases might be as few as one distraction, the desired result of the habit forming doesn't occur. So when the parents and children are working on the various activities, it's important to identify factors in the environment that might be distracting. For instance, having a phone nearby might cause someone to keep checking to see if messages have arrived. This reduces one's focus on the task, and that leads to poor habit formation. And many other examples can be given. In addition, the habit formation that we're describing is dependent on the purpose. If the individual knows why the task is being completed, it's much more likely the activity will be done well and the habit will be more ingrained. As stated earlier, the purpose of the virtues in character development ought to be explained to the children. The effectiveness will be enhanced, yielding a better product or better habit, which will be a virtue that's more likely to become second nature. Now, we're in the process of developing modules, and each of these habit modules will have 3 curriculum components. There'll be a pre-activity part, an activity, a list of activities, and a post-activity component. The pre-activity component will describe the virtue, give examples, and explain what that virtue means and what it looks like and how it might be lived out in a community. The activities component will be a list of activities that are intended to facilitate formation of that virtue. These will be a combination of age-specific activities for the 3 different age categories we have: primary school, secondary school, and higher education. In addition, there'll also be some general activities that are appropriate for any age. The post-activity component will give recommendations for continuing to live out the virtue after it's been learned. Now, the activities that we're sharing with you are intended to be examples for the parents. They're expected to work in many communities. However, it might not be the case in your situation. So in that case, use the following recommendation: adapt, don't adopt. This means you're to use these examples as ideas that will enable you to develop activities that will work in your own setting. Your setting is unique. Therefore, what you need also will be unique. Find the components that will enable success in your community, in your setting, and just ignore the others. It may be helpful to start out using a few of these activities, but you ought to feel free to develop those that fit your needs. If you have suggestions for other activities, please send them to us. We want to share them with others and give them more options to be considering. In closing, it's our prayer that the Holy Spirit will work in the lives of all the leaders and children who engage in virtue formation. May He richly bless you in all you do. His character will impact your community in your lifetime, in the lifetime of your children, and the lifetime of their children, generation after generation. Thank you.